This is the bookcase where I keep all of my old paperbacks and some of my hardcover books that I just want to keep out of the air behind glass. I got this bookcase from Elizabeth Massey and Courtney Skinner. They had been storing it in a unit out in Fishersville, Virginia, and it was in such bad shape that they just gave it to me. I took it down into my workshop in the basement, and I basically took it apart, either refurbished or replaced some of the pieces, like the bottom skirt, the middle and the right leg there. Those were all reproduced from mahogany, and just restored it and put it here in my office. When I was a kid with paperboy money to spend, I used to buy my very first paperbacks from a store called E.J. Corvette, which was in Carl Place, Long Island. It's long gone now, but you could walk into the front door of this place, and right there on the left were all of these racks of paperback books, hundreds and hundreds of them. And the ones I was drawn to, of course, were the science fiction books, and nearly all of those were from a book company called Ace. And I normally would buy Ace doubles because I could get two books, I thought, basically for the price of one. I mentioned Corvettes and Ace doubles because somewhere in 5th grade or 6th grade, maybe the summer between the two, 1965, 66, this is one of the first science fiction Ace doubles I bought by a guy, I had no idea who this was, Samuel R. Delany. I bought this book because of the blurb here. It seemed really, really interesting to me, even though it was only, 96 paperback pages long. It's a familiar trope. I had read science fiction stories and novels, mainly by Murray Leinster, I think, or Milton Lesser, about generation ships, ships that couldn't go as fast as the speed of light, so they made them so huge that people could live on them, growing their own food and regenerating their own air through several generations of people, so that the people who left Earth, their descendants, would be the ones who would arrive. In this case, Delany took it to the logical conclusion that society would advance to the point where humanity would get there before these ships did. And that's exactly what happened here. The ships arrived at their final destination only to find that the planets in that system were already settled. Anyway, this got me on a Samuel R. Delany kick. As soon as I saw he had a story in Dangerous Visions called I and Gomorrah, that was the first story I read in that. My copy was from the Science Fiction Book Club, and it went on to win the Hugo, I believe, Best Short Story of the Year. And in that Science Fiction Book Club, in 1968, his novel Nova showed up, and I devoured that one, and I was hooked for life. Still am. Eric Frank Russell, Somewhere a Voice. Before buying this book, this is a short story collection, I had been given another sort of quasi-novel short story collection called Men, Martians, and Machines. And I just was enthralled with that, especially the Martians. Love them. So when I saw this for all of 40 cents, I snapped it up. The story in here called Dear Devil, that's a sort of an echo of Men, Martians, and Machines, because He employs the same octopus-like Martians in it, but in a very serious, touching story. Love that. And of course, Somewhere a Voice, the novelette, which takes up half of this, was amazing. I searched out other Eric Frank Russell, but I wasn't as impressed as I was with this book and Men, Martians, and Machines. Also, his short story, which won a Hugo, called Alamagusa. That actually stuck in my brain as I grew older, and in my 20s when I volunteered to join the Navy. Anyway, the ships that I ended up being assigned to did not have an OFFOG, an OFFOG, in their inventories, but it still stuck with me. Ursula K. Le Guin, Rocannon's World, the very first novel of hers in the Hainish cycle of science fiction books, which she was justly famous for. This is not the edition that I bought at Corvette's in an ace double. It was an ace double with an Avram Davidson story called The Kar-Chi Rain. But this was the first Le Guin I ever read. It got me interested in her enough so that when, again, the science fiction book club that I was still a member of in 1971 came out with her novel, The Left Hand of Darkness, I didn't hesitate and I ordered it. And like with Delany, the rest is history. I now own, over there behind this camera, 2 full shelves of Ursula K. Le Guin books. I've got everything I think she has ever written. Another ace book, 45 cents for the Best of FNSF 11th series, edited by Robert Mills. You won't believe what's in this book. There's stories by all of these: Davidson, Poul Anderson, Asimov, Clifford Simak, Kurt Vonnegut, Gordy Dixon, Jay Williams, who I still don't know, Evelyn Smith, Jody Scott, John Barry, Charles Finney, and Cordwainer Smith, and finally John Anthony West. What's also in here, which didn't make the back cover, are 2 poems by a gentleman named Rosser Reeves. E = MC squared. I think I've got it memorized, but if you don't mind, I just might read it. But this has Time Lag by Poul Anderson, Shotgun Cure by Cliff Simak, The Captivity by Charles Finney. What an amazing story that was. Of course, the Cordwainer Smith, Alpha Ralpha Boulevard, is a classic. And Harrison Bergeron is in here too. By Vonnegut. What a wonderful collection. This really got me going because this opened my eyes to some writers who I had never heard of before. This may get my video canned, but let's read it anyway. E = MC squared by Rosser Reeves. Someday perhaps, some alien eye or eyes, blood red and cold and polished, horny lids, set in chitinous face, will sweep the arch of some dark, distant sky and see a nova flare. A flick of light, no more. A pinpoint on a photographic plate, a footnote in an alien chart of stars, forgotten soon on miles of dusty shelves where alien beetles feed. A meal for worms, sole epitaph, to mark the curious end of restless man, who for a second of galactic time floated upon a speck of cosmic dust around a minor sun.